I said this last week, don't rule out the possibility of John Gruden being the offensive coordinator, pairing him again with Derek Carr.
They don't have any cap room. They got a lot of issues. I think that's going to be for the next couple of years a dead franchise.
Hopefully over the last 2 years inside this building, I've proven to everyone in this building that all I care about is winning, and that's all I want to do. And
Kellen Moore looks like he should be the Eagles' IT guy.
The New Orleans Saints have officially hired head coach Kellen Moore to lead their franchise. This is the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, who just won a freaking Super Bowl and blew out the Kansas City Chiefs. Funny enough, head coach Nick Sirianni of the Eagles was desperately trying to keep Kellen Moore from leaving Philadelphia.
Hey, Kellen, let's run this. Let's run this shit back, Kellen. Let's run this back. Congratulations.
Unfortunately for Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore will not be running it back with him so he can get all the glory as the head coach and win another Super Bowl. Kellen Moore is an interesting hire. Spent some time with the Dallas Cowboys, spent some time with the Los Angeles Chargers, and then more recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. Guy really, though, doesn't have a lot of charisma.
Are you kidding me? Kellen Moore? Yeah, he can call plays, but he has zero charisma. Nice guy, but zero personality. It's like my producer Tyler Korn said to me last night, Kellen Moore looks like he should be the Eagles' IT guy. Yeah, he does. You don't see many.
So the guy is kind of boring. He's not going to give you a big time speech that makes you want to run through a wall for him. And really, I don't think he's done much in terms of his resume. This guy has had nothing but loaded rosters. I'm not that impressed that Kellen Moore was able to win the Super Bowl with Saquon Barkley at running back and that loaded Philadelphia Eagles offense. I'm not really impressed by that. I'm more impressed by guys who do a lot with a little bit. Cliff Kingsbury, what he did with the Washington Commanders, I think is infinitely more impressive than what Kellen Moore did with the Eagles last year. But nonetheless, Kellen Moore will be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. The big question is, what happens with Derek Carr? What happens with the quarterback position? What does the future hold for this Saints team? Well, it turns out they're going to add some people to the coaching staff. You have a lot of chatter from Schultz Report saying that the Saints are seriously considering Brandon Staley, the former Chargers head coach who did employ Kellen Moore at one point, is in line to be the new defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. Now, that is not a bad hire. Just because somebody did not work out as a head coach doesn't mean they're a bad coordinator. And I think Brandon Staley, defensive coordinator, that will be a fire hire when that does come through for the New Orleans Saints. Big question too is offensive coordinator. Could there be a possibility of John Gruden linking up with the New Orleans Saints as the offensive coordinator of Kellen Moore? You got Mike Florio thinking this is a possibility.
I said this last week, don't rule out the possibility of John Gruden being the offensive coordinator, pairing him again with Derek Carr as they try to salvage that relationship because they otherwise could just cut him. Carr and Gruden possibly together again if and when Moore gets the job. But Devin.
Thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Underdog, where you can win money on sports. Underdog is one of the fastest growing fantasy apps in the industry. I especially love their pick'em game where you can pick your favorite players around the league, guess the higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. You can win up to 1,000 times your money in one night. I especially like doing this for a game that I'm not emotionally invested in. I can just make my picks, sit back, and watch them hit. Now that it's the playoffs right now with a few games left, you definitely got to get your picks in soon and start playing now. Check out this map right here to see if Underdog is available in your state. It's available in California, Oregon, and Texas, where I know a lot of you are from. If you use my promo code WiFi, you can get a free pick plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash for first-time players. So visit UnderdogFantasy.com, find the app in the Google or Apple store, and use my promo code Wi-Fi to claim a free pick plus get up to $1,000 in bonus cash for first-time players. What are you waiting for? The link is in the pinned comment and description below. Check out Underdog right now. Now, personally, I don't think John Gruden should take this job. I don't think he should be an offensive coordinator. I think it's head coach or nothing for him, especially when you're dealing with somebody like Kellen Moore, who has way less experience and way less accomplishments than someone like John Gruden. Maybe Gruden will do him a favor and be his offensive coordinator just to help out Derek Carr. That's a possibility, but it is true that the Saints need to figure out their relationship with their quarterback Derek Carr because they owe him a lot of money regardless of what they do next. The longest tenured general manager in the entire NFL, Mickey Loomis, was asked recently before the hiring of Kellen Moore about the quarterback Derek Carr.
Yeah, I have high level of confidence in Derek. You know, listen, he did some really good things here. He has done some really good things here. I mean, if he had qualified, which I'm not sure if he did, I mean, his quarterback rating would be in the top 10, his interception rating would be in the top 10. His yards per attempt would be in the top 10 under some really tough circumstances when you don't have, your top two receivers and you don't have that special weapon in Taysom Hill and we don't have the middle portion of our offensive line and we have a rookie left tackle. There's some tough circumstances for a quarterback to deal with. So I think he's done a lot of really good things.
There you have the GM, Mickey Loomis, sounding much more reasonable and much more sober than a lot of these drunk Saints fans that you hear online complaining about Derek Carr. Carr had 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in 10 games, a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. It really doesn't get much better than that, especially when you're on a bad team like the Saints, a team that doesn't have many players that are going to attract a big name head coach. And it's unanimously understood that the Saints have a horrible cap situation. And a lot of people have tied Derek Carr to the former Saints head coach Dennis Allen, but I don't really think that's ever been the case. I mean, Mickey Loomis has been the GM for the long time, longest in the entire NFL with one team. And I don't think that the Saints signed Carr in 2023 unless it's this guy's idea, unless this guy is all in on having Carr be their franchise quarterback. I don't think it was Dennis Allen pulling strings and forcing the organization to do something that they don't want to do. At the end of the season, before hiring Kellen Moore, Carr was asked about where he stands and his future with the team.
I have had conversations where they do want to know what I think. And so, anytime that someone asks what you think, that's a good thing. They care about what you have to say. So, the main part of that is that hopefully over the last 2 years inside this building, I've proven to everyone in this building that all I care about is winning. And that's all I want to do. And they trust what I have to say by what I've shown them, not by what I've said. And, so far that's been the case. And as an older player, you appreciate that.
So from Carr's perspective, they asked him what he thought about certain people, certain head coaching candidates. If an organization is asking a player what he thinks, that player must be in the future. So for all this chatter about is Derek Carr going to be gone for the New Orleans Saints, I think he's 100% going to be back with the Saints next year. Even if he doesn't want to be back with the Saints next year, if I'm Derek Carr and I'm looking at all these teams that need a quarterback, this would be a really great year to be a free agent quarterback. Carr was also asked by ESPN on the side about his salary, and he brought up this comment apropos of nothing about how he wouldn't take a pay cut, especially with what he put on tape. I'll always help the team. That way, some things you earned. So this is about would he be down for a restructure, which every player is down for a restructure, but he would not take a pay cut. I don't know who was so stupid enough to even consider that Carr should take a pay cut, or any player. I don't know what retard asked that question or even brought that up in the media, but Carr seems like he had to address it. And of course, no player would ever take less money from these billionaire owners, especially when you're looking at how bad the Saints are. I don't know why Carr, of all people, would need to take a pay cut. The team literally only won games when he played last year. Unfortunately, he was only able to play 10 times. And if you're looking at the potentially available quarterbacks in March, according to Spotrac, Sam Darnold obviously is at the top of the list, but he's going to cost a lot of money. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people don't want to deal with the drama that he brings to a team. Justin Fields, athletic guy, but struggles as a passer. That's why Russell Wilson ultimately beat him out of a job last year. In addition to that, you do have Russell Wilson, who's up there in age, closer to the Matthew Stafford age. If Stafford is available, he becomes the best quarterback in the free agent class of 2025 if the Rams decide to move on from him, which people think that is a possibility. But that guy's 37 years old. Derek Carr, you're getting a few years younger there. And I think out of all these people, if I'm going to choose anybody, I think if the Saints are dumb enough to make Derek Carr available, he becomes the second best quarterback in this free agency class outside of Matthew Stafford, potentially number one if Stafford decides to sit, potentially a strong number one if the Vikings decide to keep Sam Darnold rather than letting him test free agency. You have Giants fans, content creators talking about the possibility if the Saints move on from Carr that they would like to grab Derek Carr, link him up with Devontae Adams again and Malik Neighbors. That does sound like an amazing Madden team right here.
They don't have any cap room. They got a lot of issues. I think that's going to be for the next couple of years a dead franchise.
Will they have a winning record before he's fired in 4 years?
Oh, he won't last 4.
3, yeah. I think that's reasonable.
So nobody's optimistic about Kellen Moore and the Saints. Will he even last 3 years with the Saints organization? The guy does have a steep hill to climb while the Saints are paying all of these very old players who are past their prime. Cam Jordan is a player that's getting up there, and he is not planning on leaving the Saints. He wants to run it back. He's optimistic about what they did last year.
There's no world where you're thinking, maybe I want to go somewhere where I have a better chance of getting a ring.
Who has a better chance of winning than us? We have all the talent. You talk about a healthy...
So Cam doesn't want to go anywhere. I don't know if everybody is pounding the door for his services, but he does bring up a good point that the Saints were looking like one of the hotter teams in the first few weeks of the season. And I'm not talking about week 1 to week 2. I'm talking about all the way up to week 5. They were very competitive against the Super Bowl champion Eagles in week 3. Really only lost due to a PI call against the Falcons in week 4. And then against the Chiefs, Derek Carr ultimately gets knocked out of the game. They were trailing the whole game, but the game was still within their reach all the way up until the fourth quarter before Carr was knocked out. Derek Carr's future is still up in the air according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, though. Moving on from Carr would save the Saints only a couple $1 million, meaning he'll probably be the team's QB1 entering 2025. Remember, Carr had some more fiery words when asked about his job security towards the end of the season, saying whenever the season doesn't end up the way you wanted, that's the person people look at, meeting the quarterback. Well, what money can we free up to get this and do this? And I'm fully confident with what I put on tape. I'm not worried. If that's the case and it had to change and all that kind of stuff, I'm super confident that whatever it is, I could get anywhere else to play. And so I'm not worried about that. But at the same time, I just want to win. So if the Saints decide to move on from Carr, he's very confident he'll bounce back. And I'm looking at all these teams that need a quarterback. I'm looking at all the quarterbacks available right now. Saints better watch out and appreciate what they have right now because it will be gone real quick. And I think if they move on from Derek Carr, Spencer Rattler obviously proved last year that he's not going to be the answer at all. And this could be the worst team in the division. I mean, this team could be the new Panthers without Derek Carr because they don't really have a path to a quarterback in this upcoming draft. They are sitting at pick 9. People already don't like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, don't think they're too impressive. And you know that the Giants and the Browns and the Titans and the Raiders, they all want a quarterback. So the Saints are on the outside looking in. It could be ending up as a complete dumpster fire if they don't play it smart right now and just keep their franchise quarterback and build around him. And I think that's what they'll do because they are smart enough to know, unlike their fans, that it's the only option.